Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to move ahead. Perhaps one of the most significant things we have discussed, we'll recap something here that's really important principle, is the principle that the consciousness of God concentrates on where the creation is taking place. Think on that. That's where the consciousness of God has his attention. And in the beginning of time, his attention was on creating these little atoms and then molecules and then cells. But once creation is perfected, then they operate like a computer program, and the life form which composes these smaller particles then is transferred to a higher form until we eventually get to mankind. In the universe as a whole, this physical universe, where is the attention of God concentrated now? Man. Right. Humanity. Humankind of beings throughout the universe is where the consciousness of man is. Have you ever heard the statement, as above, so below?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, the consciousness of God is concentrated on man. And we are the consciousness of God for the universe. This is where the consciousness of God is. And suppose you were the one life, which is God. Everybody imagines God as some, being up on a throne somewhere. But suppose you were this being on a throne and you had the whole universe before you. Wouldn't you, not want to do the same thing over and over and over again? Matter of fact, this is the idea of the regular Christian heaven. They go to heaven and they just worship at Jesus' feet and sing songs and play harps. And they just do it over and over again, right? Did you find it there? I have a printout of some important material for this discussion, and then just disappeared off the face of the earth. No, I haven't been to China.
What about these boxes?
Huh?
These boxes?
Okay. No. It's mysterious how that happens to me about 3 times a day. Sometimes it disappears. I had some printouts I did this morning. Got up early and printed out some things that I need to give you today, and they're just nowhere.
It raised its own consciousness.
So anyway, we won't cover that material, and during the next break I'll run up and reprint them all over again. What? Unless they got handed out to somebody. Oh, we're handing out the songs.
What are they for in the machine?
They had some scriptures on it.
No.
Whatever this You did it. That's what you did last week?
This one. Thank you very much. I thought I left it in the room, but I can't find anything in the room. We'll plow with the horses we got. Yeah.
If we're all, everyone, the same level in the universe, and that is the most advanced level is mankind, and that's where God is forming and focusing his consciousness. That's very interesting. I always thought, I had no basis for doing it, that time was kind of linear, that there's been planets that have reached our stage of advancement millions of years ago, and we're just following along as one of many successful lives.
Yeah, that's what everybody thinks. Everybody thinks that we're just duplicating everything that's done before, and then we'll be gods in the future and have children that duplicate what we've done. No, it doesn't
But
work
can't
that
we
way.
delete
I
certain?
mean, wouldn't that be boring? I mean, when you come up with a philosophy that produces boredom, well, you come up with a philosophy that's not from God, because God is not in the boredom. I mean, God has designed everything to be interesting. I mean, look at sex, for instance. Isn't that a fascinating subject? Yet who made it? Right? God made sex the way it is. God made male and female, our bodies, our minds, so we can have these fascinating experiences. When you look at everything that is made through the life which is God, you find a God that is not a static being. He doesn't want to do the same thing over and over, that he's into the game of Monopoly. That's what he's into.
What about the planetary logos, solar logos, all these logos? Consciousness of God.
But they've all gone through the human kingdom.
They what?
They've all gone through the human kingdom.
So all the planets throughout the universe are all at the same level as we are.
No. But man throughout the universe is the creative force of the universe. Humanity right now is at the midway point between matter and spirit. So you have spirit on one end, matter on the other, and in between is where the creation of God is taking place. And right now it's in the human kingdom. Now, you've heard the statement, as above, so below. That's right with the twist. Now, most people say it's, and they use this in this way. They think, well, Adam is probably like a little solar system, and then we get up and we're like a giant atom, our whole solar system is, and our whole universe may be just a pimple on some guy's nose. So we may be part of some guy's pimple on the nose, we may be part of a bigger human being, and then he's part of a bigger universe, and this keeps going on and on forever. Okay, that's not the way it works. Yet that's what all the theories behind it tells us. Is that's not as above, so below, that's not the way it works. For one thing, a solar system is not exactly like an atom. An atom is much more perfected than a solar system. An atom has reached a state of relative perfection. The various solar system and the various planets have much imperfection in them. They're just in the elementary state of their progression. So, a solar system has a nucleus with planets circling around it, and an atom has a nucleus with particles circling around it, but they're different. And so, as above, so below, but with differences. That's the key principle. Because, as it says in the scriptures, the Lord says, "Behold, I do all things new. I create a new heavens, a new earth. I do new things. I do things you've never seen before." Now, so when God creates and He shifts His attention from the lower to the higher, He'll incorporate all the good elements that's already been created, and then He will add new ones. Okay. When God shifted attention from the vegetable kingdom to the animal kingdom, the animals can do everything the vegetables can do and more. When He made the humans can do everything the animals can do and more. And so everything that's in the vegetable, mineral, and animal kingdom is in us in some way, but we can do more. In other words, God just didn't want to create animals over and over and over and over again and just leave it there. He's not going to create something better than an animal. What could be better than an animal? A self-conscious being, somebody more like me, Okay, so He creates human beings.
Okay, well, where does monads come into that then? Do they create monads who create human beings, or create human beings, monads are already there?
Well, He created monads are part of God, so to speak. So when we talk about God creating, we're also talking about monads creating. Yeah. Okay?
So the physical body then, when God created the physical body of man, this body first put on, that's what He created when He focused His attention?
See, we're gods now, and everything, all creation has taken place in the past the way it's doing now. We are representatives of God in the universe, and how do we create? You want to know how God creates? Say, how do we create? Bill Gates wants to create a perfect word processing program. So he starts out with version 1. Well, there's lots of flaws. Let's correct them in version 2, version 3. What version are we up to? About 8 or 9 now altogether. And each version, we're working out bugs. And then after you create the version, you work out the bugs within the version, and you have 5.1, 5.2, and so on. And that's kind of the way God creates. God creates the same way we are, well, because He creates through us. So guys, men get together, they create a car, and then create a better car, and a better car, until we get a car so good that it does everything we want to do. Can't find it?
The psychic was wrong.
Psychic.
Sharon, she said they were up there by the time, they're not.
No? I think we told you that. Oh, it's really
You're a
odd.
prophet.
Well, that's because I look like it. Yeah, look thoroughly in that case. It might be somewhere with an old
Oh,
dog.
wait. Is this it?
There it is, right there.
I just pointed at it all the time, I pointed.
See, well then you were partially right, Sharon. Because you said it was my maybe second papers that we didn't.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay, we don't have to have a detour then. Okay, so as above, so below, the soul of us is what? What is our soul?
Reflection.
Oh, it's the midway point between matter and spirit.
Right, within us, there's an interplay between our physical body and spirit, and that is soul. And that interplay is actually little tiny life forms interplaying and creating. And the interplay between spirit and matter creates all things. It creates our bodies, it creates the earth, it creates all things physical, that interplay. Without that interplay, there can be no physical creation. Yeah, in physical form.
Kind of a little bit like what he's saying, but a little bit different. I've heard that the Earth is the garbage universe because it is the worst place to go, and yet it is highly desirable to be cleaner process. But if we are also sent to other universes or other places or other experiences, now, how does that play into what God is doing with these other people and these other?
Well, for one thing, the earth isn't the worst place to go. It was a lot worse a couple million years ago than it is now. Now it's evolving.
They still say it's
Yeah. Mars is a lot worse than this. You ever seen those pictures of Mars? Just a bunch of red sand, and you choke on the air because you can't breathe it.
I'm talking about where there are people, where there are, I don't want to call aliens, but something.
Well, there's all kinds of different places in the universe. There's places that are completely controlled by the Dark Brotherhood that are like, imagine what the Earth would be like if Hitler dominated the whole thing. There are some planets where it was dominated by Hitler-type figures. Most of them escaped that in the revolution. And they escaped the conquest. The Brotherhood of Light overcomes the Dark Brothers and with some close calls. But and then where there's complete domination of Hitler-type figure for a long period of time, then it's followed by destruction of most of the people on the planet, or sometimes the entire planet. Some people theorize that the asteroids was once a planet that was blown up. But okay, so it's an interesting fact that within us is an interplay between spirit and matter. And the interplay between spirit and matter of the whole universe, right in the midway point where spirit and matter is interplaying, is humans, the human kingdom. And we're the ones in charge in the universe of creating and forming, putting the universe into form. And we're just barely getting started. Because when you look out there, the form is it's interesting forms out there discovered by the Hubble telescope, but not formed by high intelligence. It's pretty much random creations. But humanity is not, evolved humanity like us is actually fairly rare in the universe. In a lot of the planets they have elementary life forms. But what makes this Earth a little bit different is the hierarchies that govern our solar system sent high intelligences to come assist us in our evolution. And without this assistance, we would still be almost like the savages, if not for this. And on many other planets, they're still in a savage state. But what makes this one a little bit different than a lot of the other planets is we've had assistance from what is called the Sons of Mind were sent to us to assist us in our evolution. Sons of Mind. These are basically our solar angels. We have solar angels assisting us in our evolution. And not all planets have this as the case. Because of this, we're actually one of the more progressed planets.
They're more advanced, can travel.
Right, and a solar angel is higher being than us. Right.
So you call those solar angels another, would be on another planet?
No, a solar angel doesn't have a physical body.
What about Sirius? Cyrus?
Yeah, it's Cirrus.
Yes, Cyrus doesn't have kingdoms like they have here. It's a life form, and they're not an actual physical matter. They're in the higher etheric matter. So there's all kinds of different matters, but on this physical plane, most of the nearby stars don't have physical life like we do.
Okay, so you're
But they
saying,
have etheric life. And in Sirius, they have, there's very advanced beings in the Brotherhood of Light, but they're in a more refined matter than they are here.
For example, the ones that helped the ancient people, the Egyptians who built the pyramids were from another star system. We didn't do it. I mean, they came and helped us and assisted us in, space travel.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of people say.
Yeah.
And we won't say yes or no on that. But the point is, yeah.
Do you believe that we're evolving to a more simplistic type of situation, or do you think it's just getting more complex?
More complex.
More complex.
Like, everything will get more complex. Just like a molecule is more complex than an atom, and a cell is more complex than a molecule.
So you don't believe we're heading backward?
We're evolving into greater complexity because we will understand simplicity, so to speak. Let's put it that way. To really make more complex things, you have to understand the simplicity of things. Right? The computers are getting more and more complex, but their whole foundation of the computer is a binary system which is composed of two things, a plus and a minus. Combinations of pluses and minuses create everything on our computers, no matter how complex they are. And to understand the complexity, you have to understand the binary system, what plus and minus is. So to create the complex, you have to understand the simplicity. If you don't understand the bare bones simplicity of things, then you cannot create the complex. Just like many of these Harvard professors are unable to create anything usable because their mind operates on too complex. They got too many facts going through their minds, and so they can't do anything practical. They can teach, but they can't do anything practical, many of these professors. Because if they had to run a business, it would probably fail. Because their mind, they got so many complex things going through their mind that they only see complexity. Whereas the guy that really is innovative, like Bill Gates, he quit college, he's a college dropout, and saw things in simplistic ways, and wound up creating very complex systems.
Well, that's why do you say we're in charge of the whole universe when there are others that are watching us?
But we're the creators. We're the creators in the universe. The beings that are above us still work through us in the creation and the physical things.
You're watching these, blow ourselves up or something crazy.
Yeah, but they're not doing the creating. We're doing the creating. The solar logos doesn't come down here and build a house. It doesn't build a city. It doesn't build any computers. We're the ones that's doing it. And we do it. We receive inspiration from lives older than us. Now, I'm not saying there aren't lives older than us. I mean, there's been past solar systems, many of them, where people have passed through the human kingdom. But every solar systems are created and destroyed and created and destroyed, but each time there's a new creation, a new round of human beings are created that are just a little bit more advanced than the ones before. We're going to do better than the solar angels that are guiding us. Meanwhile, they're also moving ahead. But there are higher lives in us that guide us, but we're the ones in charge of creating. We're the creators of the universe. We're going to do all the creating. We're going to splice the genes, create new DNA, and create new life forms even. Yeah.
Is this creating that we're doing on the physical plane where it seems that the solar logos and these other more advanced life forms that are inspiring us somehow can't affect the physical plane like we can?
Well, they probably could, except their attention is elsewhere. They got other things they're doing. More exciting in their mind than what we're doing. But for us, our job is to be creators. We're the new creators on the block, so to speak. And we're going to be the ones that's going to mold the whole universe. We're going to eventually move star systems and planets. Eventually, we may go out to Saturn and take the moon called Titan with that's a little bit like Earth. We'll move it out of its orbit, move it to the orbit that Earth is in, so it'll be a twin balancing us off, and we'll send a whole bunch of people over there, and it'll be like a Garden of Eden. We'll actually move planets someday, and move entire star systems. That's the destiny of man, is to, we will be, millions of years from now, we will be like gods compared to what we are now. We think we can create now. Wait till we get near the end of our evolution, we will give form to the entire universe. Now, one thing that bothers scientists is they say the universe is expanding and there's not enough matter in the universe to draw it back in. Now, they think if there's enough matter and magnetism, or gravity, to draw the universe back into itself, then it could all collapse into itself and we could have another bang and things could keep going. But they're worried. They say, well, there's not enough gravity, so it looks like the universe is just expanding and it's going to expand forever, and then pretty soon everything will just waste away and we'll never have another universe. But they leave out one ingredient in the whole equation, which is what? Man. Man will eventually be able to control the forces of nature and be able to move planets and star systems wherever he wants and actually give shape to the whole universe. That's amazing. Yeah.
It seems to me that as human beings, the most complex thing that we can create is a child of offspring. Yet it doesn't seem like we really have any clue about how that's being done. So is that really us creating it, or is that something else?
No, that's not us creating it. See, the design has already been created. That's like having a baby is really like us going and buying a new computer, because the work has already been done. The design of that baby is already incorporated in the creative process that's already taken place. Now the creative process is us as human beings creating new things. Now, look at what we've done lately. We've created computers and cars and microwaves, all kinds of things, and we're going to continue to do it. And people on other planets that is near our state of evolution are doing the same thing. And these other people on other planets are near the same state of evolution we are. And there aren't too many that are capable of spaceflight the way people think. But most of the ones capable of spaceflight are in the higher etheric matter. And most of the spaceships people see is not actual physical spaceships, but in higher etheric matter. And like the planet Venus actually has people on it, but not in the physical. It's in the higher etheric. We have seven levels of etheric matter, or physical matter. We have regular solid matter, we have water, we have gas. Well, these are the three levels of physical, and then above that we have 4 ethers that are invisible, that we cannot see. And in these higher ethers, in the physical, and then you have 7 ethers also in the astral, and you have all kinds of different dimensions and spheres. And so a lot of these planets we think are not inhabited physically have inhabitants in their higher spheres. In fact, the Ancient of Days come from Venus, and he came in the etheric matter. And he still lives in the etheric matter in Shambhala. And he's not in the actual physical, even though he has incarnated a couple times.
So these people that are visited by aliens, these are not in the physical, or before,
Yeah.
say?
Most of
There's
them.
different times they describe
The physical ones only come
and all the other.
once every few thousand years.
Skinny rays, short hair, those that look like.
Yeah, and some of the supposed aliens are implants from thought forms from various spiritual brotherhoods. Some on our side and some not on our side. So anyway, we don't want to get into all that, but the truth about UFOs is a little bit different than a lot of people think. You know, the true benevolent brotherhood visiting us actually here in the physical is fairly rare occurrence. And they usually come like at the beginning of a new creative evolution. To help us to develop our next great step in evolution. We're at a new age, but it's possible they could come sometime in the next 1,000 years again. I doubt if they'll come in the next 100 or so years. I know everybody's expecting them to materialize right around the corner. They've been doing that ever since I can remember. But I would say my gut feeling on it is they're waiting for us to develop space travel on our own before they come and meet us again.
I'm saying coming to Christ, isn't that part of it?
No, he won't come in a spaceship or anything like that. But we talked about second coming quite a bit, and that's in like 3 stages. One is the establishment of the teachings of the Christ consciousness, which a lot of people understand now. The second is where Christ works by overshadowing various disciples and working through them. And the third is it becomes in a body of his own, which it's not determined if that will be necessary positively. It's not really given out exactly how that's going to transpire. Okay. A couple things are given out. We're going to go over one particular thing here in a few minutes. It's coming. So anyway, it's an interesting principle. The man is the soul of the universe. We are the conscious creators. Now, altogether, there are 12 creative hierarchies. And man is one of them, but human beings, are the ones responsible are the creative hierarchy for the physical plane. The daily lives are also a creative hierarchy, but they are not directly responsible on the physical plane where we are. But there's other hierarchies and other spirits that do creative work. But we are the creative hierarchy for the physical plane. We are the soul of the universe. Just like within you, you have your soul. The universe as a whole has a soul, and that soul is us.
Okay, you said our soul was made up of little life forms. If man is the soul of the universe, what's the name of our little life forms of our soul?
We are the little life forms. Oh, the little life forms of our soul?
Are they divas?
No, it's just the interplay of spirit and matter. See, like I said, everything in the microcosm has already reached the end of its evolution. Okay, so they're just like little computer programs almost, where the consciousness is shifted up to us. But we are the new creators. Okay, we're replacing the soul between us, spirit and matter in us, is an interplay that the life form that governs that and works through it is our solar angel, which is an actual being that is evolved on another solar system that has long passed away. Okay. Now, But the point to keep in mind is that humanity is a soul universe, very innocent concept. Now, let's get back to the gathering. The next step in the gathering, the fourth step, the third step was the evolution of the democratic society, the capitalistic system, free enterprise. Freedom was the big keyword among the third great step in evolution. What's the keyword for the next step?
Service,
What is it?
service.
I think business, or abundance.
You're thinking of the coinage, okay? But for the gathering, what will be the keynote, do you think?
Cooperation.
Who said that? Cooperation. Where's the water bottle? Right, cooperation is the key word for the next step. Yes, it is. And see, those who are now sold on free enterprise, capitalistic system, democracy, really value their freedom, and they will have a fear of losing that freedom as we switch to the cooperative system. Now, because they compare the cooperative system to communism, we look at communism, we say, man, communism was bad. Well, what was wrong with communism as it was practiced by the old Soviet Union and the Chinese Empire today? What's wrong with it?
Rewards in the state.
Free will? Right, no free will. In other words, they see a concept that they think is good, and they're trying to implement it by force. And this is always the source of evil. Evil is created when you see something that is good and you try to implement it by force. Matter of fact, nobody thinks they're evil. Even Hitler. Hitler saw something he thought was good and he was implementing it by force. Because he thought he knew what was good better than everybody else did, so I'm going to do the greater good. And the only way to get this good out there is to force people to do good. And this is always a source of evil in our current society. Now, back thousands of years ago, this was sometimes good because the mentality of the people didn't understand freedom. So this type of government was actually the highest good in certain times in their history. Maybe millions of years ago, Hitler could have been seen as a good guy. Because, or Saddam Hussein, or whatever, maybe he was the best we had. But not today. Not today because people understand the principle of freedom. And when you understand the principle of freedom, you do not want somebody, some do-gooder, forcing you to do good. Because the forcing to do good, the evil that comes out of that is much more powerful than the good that transpires by being forced to do good. Now, when the Soviet Union tried to force people to do good, they thought, because this is the best system, and we're forcing people to do it, we're going to have the greatest productivity, right? But didn't they? They weren't able to feed themselves. They were starving to death. We had to keep giving them grain, even though they were our enemy. We fed them half the time, and nobody had incentive to work because, well, we'll have the other guy do the work. Why should I work? Because I don't get any more benefit if I work hard than if I don't work hard.
That's what happened with kibbutz also.
And where?
Kibbutz.
Kibbutz. Where's
It's Jewish kibbutz.
oh, really? And is that a city?
No,
It's almost like
Kibbutz.
It's called village.
Oh, and there are Jews?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Is that all of Israel or just part of Israel?
That's a voluntary.
Not over the country, and that's a very.
So they have a community living type thing where everybody has to cooperate?
I know born in kibbutz in Iraq.
Interesting. And they don't have much incentive in that system? Yeah. This is always the case. When you're in a system where you're forced to do good, incentive disappears. Because your only incentive is to try to get out of being forced to do good. It's like a teenager. You try to force a teenager to do good, he figures out a way to rebel. The best way to do with a teenager or a human being is to dangle a carrot in front of you. And then he'll be much more motivated. Now, just because they were trying to force people to do good, does that mean, and it failed, does that mean that everything in a communistic society would be evil? What if we had a society that was motivated, and yet we also had a sharing principle of some type, where there was no poor? In fact, this is what the scripture says about Zion. Scripture says, well, and also about the early Christians. In the early Christians, it said each person, they gave everything they had to the church, and they shared it. And there was a cooperation. It says in the book of Acts. And then about Zion, it says there was no poor among them, that everybody was taken care of. But how did that work? The people were not forced to do good, but some type of system was put in place where there was enough motivation that there was abundance created. Yeah.
I think the difference is in the communistic system, the motivating force is fear. And the Zion system, the motivating force needs to be love. The two are direct opposites of each other.
Now, on the other hand, many of the early Mormons, as well as other different religious communities, have tried to get a communal thing going, as well as the early hippies. They tried to get a communal thing going, and they all fizzled out. None of them worked. The early Mormons were sincere about trying to follow the principles in the scriptures, but what happened was always some powerful authority rose up and started dictating to everybody what to do, and they had to follow his way or else they'd be punished or thrown out. And pretty soon the motivation all went downhill.
There was an honor system in the New Testament, because when one of the people gave, and Peter said, "You have lied to the Holy Ghost," and after they gave a portion of it, because they denied it.
Yeah. That was a fairly small group, and it worked for a while. They gave what they had and they shared it, and that worked for a while, but it only worked for a short period of time. But what we're doing now is we're evolving to a higher system. How are we evolving? What signs have we seen of cooperation at play in our evolving society?
Workers have a share in the company they work in.
How about free trade?
Yeah, free trade is good. Yeah, workers, the companies are sharing more. They're giving, used to be a company never bought health care for their employees. Now they're buying health care for them. They're giving them sick pay. They're giving them, we got unemployment insurance.
They're being forced to.
Yeah.
It's not a requirement that businesses necessarily want to. They're being forced to.
Well, they're doing a lot of things through their free will also. Like, some things are forced to by the government, and when they do, it takes government assistance to make it work, you know. But the things that businesses do on their own, like Winco in Boise, is completely owner-operated and owned. And every employee is an owner to some degree, and it works really well. They got the best prices in town and really good service and products. And many businesses are this way. Many businesses are voluntarily giving stock options to people. And so the business world is evolving into a more cooperative society without force. If the government will stay off their backs and help them and keep them from, allow them just to evolve, we're going to see businesses evolve into what Karl Marx dreamed about. In other words, every man will have according to his needs, which is a nice little slogan, but it just didn't work the way they wanted to put it together by force. Now, one of the problems we have in our evolution is that the old ways are always fighting the new ways, and you can't put old wine in new bottles. Our society, as it is, will evolve up to a certain extent. It's evolving up to where companies are becoming more cooperative and sharing more with their employees. But there's a lot of things that aren't changing. And so for great change to be made, there has to be a gathering. Another gathering has to happen, a fourth gathering. Now what happened with the last gathering is the lights were gathered out of all of Europe and gathered to America, and when these people who were more enlightened got together, they said, we don't like the old system, let's create a new system. Now what would happen is the same thing happen again if those who were the most enlightened were gathered out and got together. Would they do the same thing? Would they say, we don't like the old system, let's create a better system?
Another revolution?
Yes.
No?
Well, if they didn't, what would be the purpose of gathering? I mean, if
Yeah.
you didn't want to make any change, just keep the status quo, then why even bother?
So the question is, how will this gathering take place? Okay. There's several ways it's taking place. In the book of Isaiah and also in the Mormon scriptures, it says a highway will be cast up in the midst of the sea, a way for the redeemed to pass over. Now, it says in the scriptures that the sea stands for the multitudes of the peoples of the earth. So a highway will be cast up in the midst of the sea. Sea stands for, water is a symbol of emotion. The highway on the sea stands for something that is in the plane of the mind above the emotions. Well, what was Isaiah talking about? He was talking about several things. The ancient prophets always spoke on several levels. But do we see anything superhighway like this anywhere?
Internet.
What is the superhighway? Internet, right. And is the superhighway affected by emotion, or is it only affected by looking at it mentally? No, it's entirely mental. With your computer, it doesn't matter how mad you get at it, you gotta get mental and you gotta punch the right keys to make it work. Right? You gotta operate it entirely from the mind. So in other words, it's a highway. The superhighway floats on the plane of emotions, above the emotions. So the emotions have no power over it. But the only thing that has power over it is the mind, which is symbolized by air. The highway is in the air, on top of the water. Okay. So this is one of the steps of the gathering of the last days, is the gathering through the internet, and we're all gathered here through the internet. Without the internet, we could not be gathered here. And this is just a really small portion, of course. Eventually, we will have, the internet will pave the way for millions to gather on the plane of the mind and then meet in the physical. So it's interesting that a highway will be cast up in the midst of the ocean, a way for the redeemed to pass over. Okay. Joseph.
I had a question on that prophecy. It talks about coming from the north country. I can understand the sea of people. Where's the north country? What is that a symbol of?
Well, this talks about the 10 tribes coming from the north. The word north stands for as far away as the eye can see in the Hebrew. So, in other words, they shall come as far away as you can imagine them coming from on the earth.
Like Nigeria?
Yeah.
The Hebrew is more like it's heathen. It's a folk, no?
It's a what?
Heathen.
I gotta be careful what I say about Hebrew, but we got Hebrew expert right here.
What did he say?
Heathen. It's heathen.
Hidden, yeah.
Heathen.
Hidden, yeah, right. In other words, you're looking, the ancients, they look on the horizon as far as they could see until they couldn't see any further and it was hidden. Yeah, right. Okay? But that's another way of looking at it. They look as far as they can see until they can't see any further until it's hidden. Yeah, okay. Okay, we're on the same page. Okay, so, are we just going to gather on the internet, or will there be physical gathering? We're physically gathered here for a few days, and it's kind of nice to rub shoulders. But where can we gather so that we can get together and create our own system of doing things? It's impossible right now, isn't it? Dan, are you nodding your head like you understand? Tell us a little bit about you, Becky.
I went down to Costa Rica to create something similar to what you're talking about. That didn't work out. It was internet-based, and it was basically it was called Laissez-faire City.
It was called what?
Laissez-faire City. Yes, LAI.
In Costa Rica?
Yeah, well, that's just where we happened to gather since it created. It was internet-based. And when I got
Now, did you
involved,
physically go to Costa Rica?
I did, yeah.
Okay, and you were going to buy some land there or something, or what?
No, that's how it started. Years ago, the whole Laissez-faire City concept started. They wanted to buy a piece of land from the government or an island, something where people could go and have their own free market, free enterprise, capitalistic system that was not bothered by or imposed upon by other world state governments.
Yeah.
And so when I got involved, it started to, that wasn't going to work. They couldn't find any land, nobody could sell the land. And so it evolved into an internet-based country. And so they had supposedly created this kind of like Ayn Rand's system where they went up in the hills and they had a hidden spot where they could be by themselves. John Galt, anyway, they supposedly had that all set up and it was protected so that it couldn't be imposed upon by the rest of the state governments in the world. When I got down there, I found that wasn't the case, and so what I tried to do was
How many people were down there with you?
As far as physically down there were probably 10 programmers, and up to, there's probably as many as 50 people doing various things, but 10 or 12 programmers.
That's a lot better than most of them I've heard about.
But due to human failure, I don't want to blame it on one guy, but there was mismanagement at the very highest.
Too many chiefs and not enough Indians back
The one chief basically wasn't a businessman. He came by his money almost by happenstance rather than working his way up.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't a people manager. And so he knew nothing about the internet, nothing about programming, computers. And he was trying to manage all these people, and there was just no boss that knew what was going on. And so it ended up there.
Community?
Yes, a lot, yeah, everybody was fighting for their own way, and there was nobody there to pull them together to unify them. That was exactly right. And so it failed. Yes.
So they what, it fizzled out and everybody went back home, or what?
No, there are still some parts of it that exist. The financial part of it, for digital money and that sort of thing is called the Digital Monetary Trust. That still exists in cyberspace. There are a few other pieces. There's still a bulletin board-like community where the people get together and can talk and discuss capitalism and free markets and that sort of thing. But as far as having a one place where all of that's pulled together, as far as I know, that's no longer there. There's still some of the programmers individually that got together after it fell apart and started building their own communities. I pretty much got out of it, so I don't really know. I'm not current anymore.
Yeah, interesting. I just had a feeling you had an interesting story to tell there just by looking at your face. Here's what I found too is that there's been quite a few attempts to, a lot of people, independently minded people, have kind of the gathering idea. They want to gather together and create a community where they can be totally independent from every nation under heaven, so to speak, and make their own laws and make their own rules. But one of the problems with this is most of them They're a little bit of the Ayn Rand consciousness. They're very independent souls. They're very independent thinkers. And it's hard to get 2 or 3 of them to cooperate, isn't it? Isn't that what you found? Yeah, they're very independent. It's a little bit like my friend Wayne I write about in the book. He's a really independent guy. And he's nobody's going to tell him what to do ever. He's quite a character. But they're very independent, and you get it's hard to get more than half a dozen of them together because they'll be arguing so much. Each one will think he has an idea better than the other guy, and they don't want anybody telling them what to do. So if any leader steps forward and starts giving directions, well, they'll rebel against him because they're so independent. And I've met a lot of these people, and they're good people, but they're just really independent. They're at a certain state of evolution where they got a lot of rebel in it. You know, they would have made good soldiers during the Revolutionary War. You know, it would have been a great benefit to George Washington. But in today's world, they're stuck in the past a little bit. They're stuck back in the Evolutionary War times. We've moved ahead. The next step isn't, we'll incorporate all the good in the capitalistic free market, a democratic society, but we're going to go a step farther to produce a cooperative society. And so, in the cooperative society, it will be a step higher, rather than trying to reestablish that which is done in the past. We're going to incorporate all the good and go a little, the extra step. What did you say also?
What about the gathering? Where should it take place? The gathering itself.
Hey, that's a great mystery, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've kept that to myself and haven't told the group for all this time, but I've decided to tell you today. Would you like to hear? Lorraine actually got it through her own inspiration, didn't she, Lorraine? Yeah.
Well, you give clues.
Yeah. Well, I've given several clues, but Lorraine's the only one that's got it in this room. And that guy that's in prison got it.
Well, Susie wants to guess.
I know Susan has really been wondering about it.
Okay, there's a guy on the internet, and he is developing a new system. He is building islands out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. There's a guy that's building some islands in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, and he's creating a new nation that nobody has any claim on. And he's trying to build this. It's called the New Utopia. So my guess is you're going to do something similar.
Oh yeah, check that out. The only trouble is, there's a couple people doing that. One guy wants to be king. You have to call him, is that the one that wants to be king? Yeah. Yeah. He's not going to gather very many because if you go there, you have to call him the king, and he's the sovereign there. Now that's going backwards. We don't want to establish a kingdom. I mean, you don't want to call me King JJ, do you? The first step in the gathering will be, isn't taking place, well, like the internet's the first step. But we got a long way to go yet. It's, eventually there's going to be some type of breakthrough for the writings that I have, where they're going to get a lot of national attention. And when they start getting in the hands of millions of people, then we'll have power to gather people to various cities. We won't necessarily build new cities there, but we'll gather them to already established cities. And like Boise will probably be one, maybe somewhere in the Midwest, another one on the coast. Have maybe half a dozen gathering points for the United States and several in other countries. But then when we get thousands of people dedicated and have enough money and power to do something, then we'll do something that no one has done before. And the final gathering place, not the final because there's never a final, but then the great gathering will take place. It will take place on this earth in a place that's been reserved from the beginning of the creation of man. And it even tells us in the scriptures. Remember the scripture that I told you about? A highway should be cast up in the midst of the great deep? I said that had more than one interpretation. What's the other interpretation?
Land rising out of a body of water.
Atlantis.
Wherefore prepare ye the coming of the bridegroom. Go ye out to meet him. For behold, he shall stand upon the Mount Olivet, and upon the mighty ocean, even the great deep, upon the islands of the sea, and upon the land of Zion. When Christ comes again, where shall he stand? And where else? And where else? And where else? Who said that? In the ocean. Okay, let me read it again. For behold, he shall stand upon Mount Olivet, and upon the mighty ocean, even the great deep. How will Christ stand upon the ocean when he comes?
He can walk on water.
Walker.
What good will that do? There'll be nobody there. What's Christ going to be doing standing out in the middle of the ocean?
Fishing.
What is he going to be standing there in the middle of the ocean? How is he going to stand in the ocean? He will stand on the highway that is cast up in the midst of the great deep. No?
Oh, just tell us.
What is the highway that shall be cast up in the midst of the great deep?
Land shall rise up in the ocean.
No? It will rise up in the ocean, but first of all, a highway will be built. We are going to build the highway.
Is somebody actually going to build a physical, like think of a floating bridge highway or?
Right, we're going to build a highway in the midst of the great deep. And then when Christ comes, he will stand upon it.
What is,
What?
What do you mean when you say hot?
Let me read you this scripture. This scripture has dual meanings.
I'm never reading that, but what is the scripture?
The first
That's from the Doctrine and Covenants, 133, verse 20.
What did he say?
133, verse 20. Says a similar thing in Isaiah, but this is a little clearer. Here's another scripture. Behold, I, the Lord, in the beginning have blessed the waters, but in these last days, by the mouth of my servant John, have cursed the waters. Wherefore the days will come that no flesh will be safe upon the waters, and if it shall be said in the days to come, that none is able to go up to the land of Zion upon the waters, but he that is upright in heart. Now people think, well, people will be coming to the land of Zion, and they'll have to cross the waters, and that's the land of Zion upon the waters. But now let's read it another way. None shall be able to go up to the land of Zion upon the waters. The land of Zion shall be upon the waters.
Floating cities?
D&C 6116.
depends on how you punctuate that, doesn't it?
Yeah. Notice the dualistic meaning. It says, only the pure in heart will be able to go to the land of Zion upon the waters. Yeah, but we're not upon the waters. The land of Zion is wherever the pure in heart gather. See, in the days of Joseph Smith, Zion, America was called Zion, but Zion is wherever the pure in heart gather. If the pure in heart gather upon in the land of Zion upon the waters. The land of Zion upon the waters. Interesting statement, isn't it? America isn't upon the waters.
No, literally.
There's no land upon the waters right now.
But if you're referring to the internet, then
No, he's not afraid.
No, we're referring to something we're going to build. We're going to build the land of Zion upon the waters. The gathering of lights will build the land of Zion upon the waters, and it will be a highway cast up in the midst of the great deep. Now,
Floating island?
Imagine we have the United States here, Europe over here. Imagine that we build a highway that connects the two, that crosses the ocean. A highway composed of homes and businesses and cities that stretch from one place to the other. Now imagine over here, we have California, and we have Japan, and we have built another highway that reaches clear across the Pacific Ocean. And eventually those two highways will connect the whole earth, so the whole earth will be like one land. Now the prophecy is the whole earth will be one land, but perhaps this is going to happen different than everybody thinks. Not that the oceans will be all dried up, but they'll be connected by the highways cast up in the midst of the great deep.
Which is what? Which gets back to the same question. What's the highway?
Have you ever seen a 100-foot way?
Well, it's not there yet, we gotta build it.
But you can't live on a highway.
Concrete highway?
Is it the
It won't be concrete.
There
In fact, Rick is fairly inspired. We wish we had him here today so he could show us the building materials. He's creating some of the perfect building materials for that we may need.
Pixels.
Yeah.
Pixel cells.
So what we'll do is create floating cities and connect the floating cities, one floating city to another. The ocean is the only place that we can go to where we will not be under the power of some authority. But we can put together a type of system that will be totally different than the world has ever seen before.
What about territorial when it comes to water? I understand we have you have Coast Guard. I mean, that this is even the Atlantic Ocean. You mean nobody owns anywhere? I don't know.
Around the edge of the
International water.
Nobody owns the ocean. In the international waters, if some island were to sprout up and you were to go put a flag on it, then you got your own
You
country.
have some countries with submarines floating everywhere, and if the Soviet Union were to bring one of their submarines somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, very close to the United States, I know they will complain.
They have it like a 20-mile marker. Anything 20 miles off the coastline is our territory. Anything past that, they can hover.
Yeah, they can go in international waters. Anybody can. But sometimes some of these unfriendly nations, if you go in international waters too close, and they get upset like the Chinese did with us, shot down our plane or made our plane go down. Yeah.
I mean, in practical politics, if you build something like that very valuable, it doesn't make a difference what international treaties say. Powerful countries, if they had force, would take it. So that implies that the power of God in some way will protect it.
Right. It's like the scripture says, a person will have to be pure in heart to be able to go up to the land of Zion upon the waters.
But wouldn't that also imply there'd be, advanced science and knowledge in those cities that would give them some of that practical physical protection?
Right, this is what's going to happen. See, we're going to gather the most intelligent people, first of all, into the cities, in the various gathering places. And then at a time when many of the governments are collapsing, many of the governments are suffering tremendous financial distress because of the systems they're taxing people more, and the people are getting less. And if they continue on this route, the economies of all the world are going to go downhill. And then when we get enough people together, we will go build floating cities. And on these floating cities, we will gather the greatest lights of the earth, including many of the greatest scientists. And there will be a lot of different ways we can make money on these things. And it also says in the scriptures, the prophecy, that the nations of the world will bring their gold and silver to Zion. And if we, once a new nation is established, where there's virtually no taxes, and tremendous opportunity for financial investment, the nations of the world will bring their gold and silver there.
Offshore bank account.
Yeah, we can have that.
The new Switzerland.
We'll also have all kinds of medical facilities that isn't governed by all the restrictions that we have here. And we'll be able to, if we have a cure for cancer, we can say, hey, we got a cure for cancer. We don't have to worry about being sued. also asked, how do you make sure only the pure in heart will be gathered to these cities? You don't make sure. You just put out the call. It's like, how do we know that everybody that came to America was pure in heart? Well, everybody wasn't. There was an opportunity signaled, and the opportunity gathered the people. And the same will be this time. Not everyone that goes to the floating cities will be pure in heart, but on the average, they'll be much head and shoulders above the average person living in the nations left behind.
If you think about the people who will be attracted to this kind of thing, they're not going to be the naysayers, I'm not going to do that. People who are low evolution will not want to go to the next gathering. They'll want to hold on to the old ways. So we'll gather the lights, the head and shoulders of the rest of people because they'll be advanced, evolved enough to think forward and not backwards.
What's the time frame, JJ?
It should be started by around 2030.
Did you say that it has to happen before Christ will return?
Yeah.
What about independence in Missouri?
Hopefully we can start around 2025.
What about independence in Missouri?
Nothing's going to happen there for some time.
That's afterwards?
Yeah. See, once the gathering takes place upon the waters, then the big test for the nations will be how they handle it. Now, it says in the scriptures, whenever it calls the church of God the woman in the book of Revelations, and it says the earth helped the woman. In other words, when there's enemies to the forces of light, the earth will help the forces of light. And when the earth sees, the intelligence that is the earth, sees that there's a gathering taking place, where there's going to be a new step in evolution, the earth will assist us. And just like the earth assisted Moses, so he was able to part the Red Sea and drown the Egyptians, the earth helped the gathering to make it so that the enemies to the gathering did not stop it.
Vacated the area.
Yeah.
Well, you think about the powers we'll have by the time that happens. I mean, we'll have a version overshadowed for how long?
Successor.
What's that?
Think about our evolution, the disciples' evolution, by the time Zion comes. With the, the first part of it's already happened, and the second part is overshadowing. So by the time that this Zion happens, we will have had our powers for quite some time. And if our powers are going to evolve into something that we don't have right now, we'll be able to protect ourselves.
Right. Now, after a gathering takes place upon the waters, then we're going to have a number of earth changes take place, and there will be new lands raised up out of the waters. And when the new lands raise up out of the waters, we will be the first ones to step forward on them and claim them. We will be the only people prepared to claim the new lands that will rise up.
When you mention kids, start doing the cities on the ocean or the gathering, or the first few gatherings in the land?
Now, the plan is to begin the building on the ocean around 2025 to 2030. During that time frame.
So are you going to put a time frame on when you think we should start gathering together for the second step, or half dozen spots?
Oh,
Should be now.
should be now. But we're not ready now. As soon as the moment that we're ready.
So what's it going to take for us to be ready?
Well, the thing that is important for me is to free my hands so I have full time to dedicate to the work. Right now I have to spend quite a bit of my time just paying bills, So once the book takes off, my writings take off enough that I can live off of them, then I'm going to invite people together to Boise and also wherever else, whenever we get a disciple in a city that is capable of teaching and guiding people, then we'll have them go there also. But when the time comes, I would hope it happened within the next couple of years. You won't have to guess, we'll tell you. Yeah. We'll make a big announcement on the Keys about it.
Well, you said
The first step of the gathering has arrived. What? Where? Well, probably Boise. It'll be the first place.
Now, where is this place on the sea? Somewhere we're surrounded by water.
We're building it.
We will
We're
build it.
building it.
Yeah.
So we floating, no, not yet. We have
What's
the
this
technology.
we?
When we build it, they will come.
Probably somewhere off the coast of Central America.
That's taking, unless someone's planning to regenerate.
No, not away, but if we could find an island of significant size, so we could probably make a deal with some government down there that we could have complete ownership of it,
You know, I'm not quite there.
and then establish it as our own country. And then use that as a base, and then expand from
No, it
there.
hasn't.
Yeah. And when we begin building this, we're gonna make a tremendous amount of money just from tourism. And it's not gonna be a religious society. I mean, if people visit this, it won't be visiting like the Amish or the Mormons or anything like this. It will be like the difference between America and the new land will be like the difference between England and America was. You know, there'll be, some people will be pretty religious, some people will not. But they'll gather there because of the idea. So the idea that, you know, of greater freedom and of making something new that's never been done before.
Are we gonna tax them?
They'll attract people of all kinds, New Agers, religious people, non-religious people. We're not going to discriminate between them. Now, the way the gathering works, the gathering is a sifting process. Jesus mentioned it, it says the kingdom of heaven is like a net that is thrown into the sea and gathers fish of all type. And then at the end of the age, you throw away the trash fish and you keep the good fish. But you keep doing this over and over and over. And you keep getting a little bit better fish all the time. When Zion is built upon the waters, there'll be people of all types gathered there. On the average, there'll be, you know, a few steps above the average person in the other nations. But there'll be some bad dudes there as well, and that have to be handled. But then the time comes that we'll leave the gathering there and leave it to whoever wants to be in charge, and then we'll move off. We'll gather again to somewhere else. So we'll gather several steps in gathering before the true Zion will be built. And who knows, it's possible that it might even be built in Missouri after it's destroyed when the final gathering takes place. Never know. What? Well, the Mormons believe Zion will be built in Missouri. Their early prophets said that Missouri would be completely wiped out and final gathering would take place there.
But
So
I said.
I don't have any information on that for sure.
I said to them, it's anywhere people are pure in heart.
Right. Zion is the pure in heart.
Pure in heart.
Right. And the people that will come will be people that have pure intent to serve or to better themselves.
Old Town?
But they won't be perfect. You know, what?
Old Town, people of Old Town?
I never heard of Old Town.
You just said people of Old Town will be pure in heart.
Zion is that.
Zion.
Have your ears in there.
Okay, Susan.
Well, the good news is that Sterling and I have been working with people who are working on desalinization so that you can take ocean water and turn it into potable water. And we're also working on magnetic motors and other alternative energies that will be perpetual type power sources,
Right.
so that you don't have to depend upon the pollution of fossil fuels and things like
And
that.
that are not allowed in America because they are being repressed, but would be allowed in the new nation.
Yeah. Right, and see, when the gathering takes place, where we're free from all the governments of the earth and we create say a new power source, we don't have to worry about anybody stealing it. We can develop it ourselves. And we may even be able to develop ways to supply power to the various nations.
Can you explain the pixels that Rick came up with to people who can't conceive of floating nation on our nation on the water?
Okay, they'll be built like Legos. Everybody understand what Legos are? We'll build the pieces. If you want a house or a place to live in Zion upon the waters, we'll build it here. And we'll have people hired and people participating that are going to be members of the gathering. and we'll have giant construction crews building them here. They'll be floated out by a tugboat or something out to the floating city and then just linked up. And one linked up after another until you get a whole city.
So we could have out there, we have our houses, we have our businesses, we build our own hospitals
Yeah.
with our healing techniques that we want, like sound and vibration, color. We can have our own schools, our own police force, our own sewer system.
Yeah. Now here's the big problem we're gonna have is,
Storms.
yeah. The storms will be, but fortunately we'll be able to move it around. When we see any storm on the satellite system, we'll be able to move out of its way. So we'll have a power source, it'll be like a giant ship. And, or they'll be able to break off from each other too. And we'll also build, we'll also eventually build cities that float in the air, which will be interesting. That would be a tremendous tourist attraction. And we'll build it even in the ocean, like actually float in the air. Rick has some really good ideas behind that too. He's come up with all that. I never told him how this is going to work, but he's been thinking in the right direction on this. Okay, what time is it? Is it time for break? Okay. Any questions? Let me see, it's 1:45. Let's break about 10 to. And then, or, well, that's all right. Let's come back about 4.